Many people can't imagine what it's like to make $1 million. And I understand that because I see the average income of people around the world. But what's really extraordinary is to make $1 million in the bedrock of adversity, which is America's prison system, sometimes known as you're living inside of the belly of the beast. My name is Michael Santos, and I was incarcerated for 26 years. Actually, it was 9,500 days. I lived as federal prison number 16377-004. And I want to tell you about the first time that I made $1 million while I was in prison, and how that experience has put me into a position to do what I really want to do right now, which is change America's prison system so that we incarcerate fewer people, and people who serve sentences can really work toward getting the best possible outcome. They can get all of that for free at prisonprofessors.org, because on prisonprofessors.org, I make 3 promises. 1, I'm never going to lie to you. 2, I'm never going to ask you to do anything I didn't do. And 3, I'm never going to charge you a penny for anything that's on Prison Professors. And today I'm going to give you a little bit of a story of how this took place. See, I was arrested in 1987. And I started inside I started in solitary confinement, and then I went to detention centers for a while before I got to the penitentiary, and I was in the penitentiary for about 7 or 8 years. The penitentiary is a violent place, right? Federal prisons have different security levels. When I went to prison, starting in 1987, there were 6 levels, level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. There was only one level 6, which was Marion, and people would step down after they served time in the Supermax at that time, which was Marion. They'd come to where I was incarcerated, the U.S. Penitentiary, which was a level 5. Later, they've switched those security levels, but that's neither here nor there. What is important is, what can you do while you're in the environment? What can you do to make sure that the system is not controlling your life? Well, you have to have a plan. And my plan was always to get out of prison with my dignity intact, and with opportunities to prosper, with opportunities to live a life of meaning and relevance and dignity. And I'm gonna just continue walking right here. I was gonna just do it standing, but I'm gonna keep walking. So you can build this pathway of saying, what do you want? I knew that I hated being in prison, even though I was in prison for a long time, even though I was going to be in prison for many years. I gotta tell my wife, honey, just keep walking, and I won't put you on camera. You have to, if you're gonna be in prison for a very long time, you've gotta be figuring out, what do you want? I knew that I wanted to get out of prison with my dignity intact and opportunities to prosper, not to live this life of mediocrity, of unemployment, of homelessness, of jobs that don't fulfill you. A life where you can do whatever you want, when you want. And the only way that you're going to do that is if you create a plan that will position you for that. So for me, that plan included 3 prongs. Number 1, I recognize I have to educate myself, I have to learn so that I could develop my own income streams when I go home. 2, I have to build a support network of people who believe in me and want to support me. And 3, I have to contribute to society in some kind of meaningful ways. And this, is like the flywheel concept that Jim Collins wrote about in Good to Great. You've got to have this plan that's advancing you to become what you want to become. So by the time I'd gotten through 8 years, I'd finished my formal education, but all the way through that, I was reading the Wall Street Journal and Investor's Business Daily every single day, because I recognized I may never be able to get a job. Who's going to hire a guy that served 26 years in prison? And even though my sentence was 45 years, under the sentencing scheme that existed back then, I knew I could get out after 26 years. I could finish the term in 26 years, as long as I made my bed every day and didn't get in trouble for getting an extra bowl of Wheaties or whatever. So it was never my goal to be a model inmate. My goal was always, be strong, be ready to position yourself that you could succeed when you get to the other side of the journey. And I had the good fortune of developing an education while I was in prison and developing a support group. that helped me when I was ready to start using the knowledge that I had acquired over those years to invest. And I remember it was the start of the internet. So when I went to prison in 1987, there were no cell phones, there was no internet, there was no email, there was none of this. But because I was reading the Wall Street Journal and Investor's Business Daily and books on investing, I felt very confident that I could pick companies that would grow in value. And from the earnings that came through some of my writing, I was able to begin making investments. And it wasn't a substantial sum. I started with $2,000 and using a margin account at E-Trade, which was one of the first online brokerages accounts, and I just continued to leverage my way into bigger positions and bigger positions. And the first trade that really turned out to be very profitable was Yahoo. It was a search engine at that time in the late 1998. Then there was America Online, and I'd started with $2,000, leveraging it by borrowing. I could borrow 50% of it. I think I could borrow $1,000 at that time. And so I purchased $3,000 worth, and then as the value increased, I got more buying power, and every time it went up, I continued to buy more. And I leveraged that all the way up till the stock doubled in value, split, then it doubled in value again, and that entire process led to me earning my first $1 million while I was in prison. Now, the irony, of course, is that what goes up really fast can come down really fast. When the internet bubble burst around 2000, maybe it was, it was in April of 1999, the $1 million relatively quickly turned into just a few $100,000. But that was still enough to change my life. In fact, those few $100,000 that I earned when I was still probably 13, 14 years away from being released had a massive influence on my life. And that's a great lesson for you. You see, because you should recognize you might be going through a crisis right now, but you also may be creating opportunities that can influence the rest of your life. For me, those influences were, it allowed me to meet the love of my life while I was inside of a prison. And I would love to put her on camera, but she's camera shy, so I won't put her on camera. But because I had money, I was able to support her, and she was able to go on to pursue what she wanted to do, which was become a nurse. And I continued to work, and we got married inside of a federal prison, and I got out in 2013. I went to a halfway house in 2012, got out in 2013, and because of all that, I had a different experience coming home than many other people. The key for anybody going into that system, go in with a plan. Be the CEO of your life. Figure out what it is you want to accomplish, and then develop the skills that will make you valuable in the marketplace. And if you do that, you'll never need a job. I got out of prison in 13, and I built what I could build to get my life started. But right now, I'm going through this other transition again, because there's always more opportunities in the future than the past, but you've got to put yourself into position for those opportunities. You might see I'm wearing this hat from MicroStrategy. I've got a shirt on Strategy. I'm really vested in cryptocurrency, blockchain, particularly Bitcoin, and artificial intelligence. It's what allows me to get to do what I want to do instead of what I have to do. I get to work to try and change America's prison system, and I need your help. If you're going into America's prison system, I want you to learn about every step you can take to position yourself for the best possible outcome, regardless of what stage of the journey you're in. If you're getting ready to go into the system, start developing a body of work, of assets that will help you self-advocate. You don't need to pay anyone. You just need to invest time and energy, and we give it all away for free on prisonprofessors.org. In the next video I'm going to make, I'm going to talk about how using artificial intelligence together with prison professors, will help you develop an AI agent to create an unlimited supply of assets that you could use to transform your life. But you can't do it by accident, and you can't do it with happy talk. You gotta be prepared to be the CEO of your life, the type of person that doesn't make excuses, but instead is always focused on reaching the next opportunity. My name is Michael Santos. I'm the founder of Prison Professors, and I believe in you. Be cool.